Imagine a moment so critical that the fate of entire civilizations hangs in the balance. Picture a dusty valley in the heart of the Middle East, where two armies stand ready to clash on September 3, 1260. One army is a relentless force that has never tasted defeat, a war machine feared by millions. The other is a band of warriors who know they might not see the next sunrise. This is the Battle of Ain Jalut, a turning point so profound that it reshaped the world forever. Today, we're diving into a story of courage, strategy, and defiance, a story that proves even the mightiest can fall. Let's travel back to that fateful day and uncover how a battle in a remote valley changed the course of history. For 6 decades, the Mongol Empire has been an unstoppable juggernaut. They've swept across continents, from the shores of China to the borders of Eastern Europe, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Entire cities have vanished under their boots, millions have perished, and horrifying tales of pyramids built from human skulls have spread terror far and wide. No army, no kingdom, no empire has ever managed to halt their advance. They've conquered an area spanning over 33 million square kilometers, nearly 1/5 of the Earth's landmass. Their empire stretches from Korea to Poland, a vast realm that seems destined to grow even larger. But on this day, in the valley of Ain Jalut, something unprecedented is about to unfold. Leading the Mongols is a seasoned general named Kidbuka, a Christian warrior who has dedicated his life to serving the Great Khan. His forces have recently crushed major cities like Damascus and Aleppo, adding vast swaths of the Middle East to the Mongol domain. Fresh from victories that seemed impossible, Kidbuka and his army are brimming with confidence. They believe nothing can stand in their way. After all, they've never lost a battle. Their latest conquests have only reinforced their reputation as an invincible force, and now their sights are set on Egypt, the last major stronghold in their path. Opposing them are the Mamluks of Egypt, a unique and fearsome group of warriors. These are not ordinary soldiers. They are men who were taken from their families as children, sold as slaves, and forged into elite fighters through years of brutal training. Their leader, Qutuz, is a man who rose from obscurity to power in just 3 years. Once a minor officer in Cairo, he is now the Sultan of Egypt, facing the most critical decision of his life. The Mongols have sent him a chilling ultimatum: surrender immediately, or face the same fate as Baghdad. And what happened in Baghdad is the stuff of nightmares. In 1258, the Mongols obliterated the city, once the cultural heart of the Islamic world. Over 1 million people were slaughtered in a single week. Rivers ran red with blood, and the city's legendary House of Wisdom, where ancient knowledge was preserved, was reduced to ashes. Books were tossed into the Tigris River until the water turned black with ink. This is the fate that awaits Cairo if Qutuz fails. But Qutuz does something no one anticipates. Instead of bowing to fear, he defies the Mongols in the boldest way possible. He orders the Mongol messengers, who delivered the ultimatum, to be executed. Then, in a chilling act of defiance, he has their heads nailed to the gates of Cairo. This is no mere insult. It's a declaration of total war against an enemy that has never been defeated. The stakes couldn't be higher. If Qutuz loses, Egypt will be erased just as Baghdad was. But if he somehow prevails, he could shatter the myth of Mongol invincibility. Let's take a closer look at the Mongol Empire in 1260. It's the largest empire humanity has ever seen, a colossal realm that dominates much of the known world. Their success isn't just due to sheer brutality, it's also about unmatched speed and strategy. Mongol warriors ride horses that can cover up to 80 kilometers a day, allowing them to strike before their enemies can even prepare. Their riders are expert archers, capable of hitting a small target from 91 meters away while galloping at full speed. But beyond their military prowess, the Mongols wield a weapon even more powerful: fear. When they approach a city, they offer a grim choice: surrender and live as slaves, or resist and face unimaginable horrors. Most choose to surrender. The few who resist, like Baghdad, become cautionary tales. Witnesses described walking across the city without touching the ground, stepping only on piles of bodies. This terror tactic has ensured their dominance for decades. Yet, the Mamluks are not like any enemy the Mongols have faced before. These warriors carry a unique strength born from their tragic origins. Most Mamluks were once slave boys, often taken from regions like Turkey or Central Asia. Sold in markets like livestock, they were torn from their families and raised for one purpose: war. From childhood they were trained in combat with swords, spears, bows, and maces. They studied military tactics, learned languages, and memorized the Quran. Above all, they were taught loyalty, not to a family or a tribe, but to each other and to Islam. By the time they earned their freedom, they were no longer the scared boys who had been taken. They were deadly weapons, bound by an unbreakable brotherhood. Among them is Baibars, Qadi's most trusted general. Baibars has devised a daring plan to save Egypt, a strategy so risky that it's never been attempted before. If it fails, the Islamic world could be lost forever. The Mongols are advancing south through Palestine with an army of about 20,000 men. They move with the speed and confidence of a force that has never known defeat. Their strategy is always the same: strike fast, overwhelm the enemy before they can organize, and crush any resistance. They send a small group of scouts ahead to assess the terrain and spot the enemy. Then the main army follows to deliver the killing blow. It's a tactic that has worked countless times because their enemies often panic and crumble under pressure. But Baibars has been observing them closely. He studied their patterns and noticed a critical flaw in their approach. He believes the Mamluks can turn the Mongols' own strategy against them. Qutuz approves the plan, but he adds a personal twist that could make or break the outcome. Instead of remaining safe in Cairo, as any typical ruler would, Qutuz decides to lead the army himself. His advisors are stunned. Sultans don't fight on the front lines. They command from a distance. But Qutuz understands something they don't. His warriors need to see him risk everything alongside them. They need to know he's willing to die for this cause, especially since what they're about to attempt is unprecedented. The stage is set for September 3rd, 1260, in the Valley of Ain Jalut, located in what is now the West Bank. It's early morning, and the desert air is still cool. As Baibars predicted, the Mongol scouts arrive first, about 1,000 horsemen charging hard across the sand. They spot a small group of Mamluk cavalry, roughly 500 men, waiting in the open. It looks like an easy target. Without hesitation, the Mongols attack, their arrows filling the sky like a deadly storm. Their horses thunder forward, kicking up clouds of dust. The Mamluks appear to panic and turn to flee. This is exactly what the Mongols expect. Every enemy runs at first sight of them. It's a pattern they've seen 1,000 times. Soon, the main Mongol army will arrive to finish the job. But something isn't right. The Mamluks aren't fleeing in chaos. They're retreating in perfect order, firing arrows back at their pursuers as they go. They're luring the Mongols deeper into the narrow valley, step by calculated step. Kitbuka arrives with the main Mongol force of 20,000 warriors, just as his scouts disappear around a bend in the valley. He can hear the clash of battle ahead, but the high walls of the valley block his view. The path is tight, almost like a natural funnel. A cautious leader might pause, send more scouts, or reconsider the terrain. But Kitbuka is a Mongol general, and Mongol generals don't hesitate. For 60 years, their strategy of relentless attack has never failed. Why would today be any different? Confident in their invincibility, the Mongols pour into the valley, eager for another swift victory. They can almost taste the riches they'll plunder from Cairo. But then, a sound echoes through the valley. Horns, hundreds of them, blaring from every direction. From the hills on both sides, from behind, and from ahead, Mamluk warriors rise from hidden positions, like ghosts emerging from the sand. There are thousands of them, perhaps 30,000, surrounding the Mongols completely. For the first time in 6 decades, a Mongol army is trapped. Even in this dire moment, the Mongols refuse to panic. They don't surrender. They never have. They quickly form up, ready to fight their way out. They've been outnumbered before, ambushed before, and yet they've always emerged victorious. Kitbuka orders his men to break out toward the south, the shortest route to open desert. If they can reach flat ground, their speed and archery skills could turn the tide. The Mongols charge with ferocity, their arrows striking true, their horses crashing into Mamluk lines. For a fleeting moment, it seems they might succeed. But then, Quatus does something extraordinary. He removes his helmet, casts it to the ground, and lets out a thunderous cry. "Oh, Islam!" Every Mamluk warrior hears his voice and sees their sultan fighting as one of them, bleeding as they bleed, risking everything as they do. The impact is immediate and electric. Inspired by their leader's courage, the Mamluk surge forward with a ferocity the Mongols have never encountered. These are not frightened villagers or untrained militia. These are professional killers who have trained their entire lives for a moment like this. The battle transforms into a brutal slaughter, but for the first time in decades, it's the Mongols on the losing end. Kitbuka fights with the heart of a lion, cutting down a dozen Mamluk warriors with his sword before he's finally overwhelmed. With his last breath, he defies his enemies, dying as fearlessly as he lived. By the time the sun sets on September 3, 1260, nearly the entire Mongol army lies dead in the valley. Only a few hundred escape to carry the tale of their defeat. The rest become food for desert vultures. But the true victory isn't just on the battlefield. It's in the minds of people everywhere. For 60 years, the Mongols were seen as unstoppable, almost divine in their power. On this day, that myth is shattered in the sands of Ain Jalut. News of the Mamluk triumph spreads like wildfire across the Islamic world. From Cairo to Damascus to the ruins of Baghdad, people who lived in constant fear of Mongol conquest begin to hope again. The Mongols can be beaten. Their relentless advance can be stopped. Far to the east in Mongolia, the great Khan Möngke receives the devastating report months later. For the first time since the empire's rise, a Mongol army has been utterly destroyed. The westward expansion halts abruptly. Resources that were meant to conquer Africa and Europe are diverted to other fronts. The Mamluk seize this opportunity, reclaiming every city the Mongols had taken in Palestine and Syria over the next few years. Baybars eventually becomes the new sultan, after Quatus is tragically assassinated by his own officers, a stark reminder of the deadly politics of the medieval world. But Baybars continues the fight against the Mongols in the Crusader states, ensuring their influence wanes. By the year 1300, the once unified Mongol Empire begins to fragment. The unstoppable war machine that threatened to engulf the world splinters into rival kingdoms, fighting among themselves rather than expanding westward. The Mamluks, meanwhile, rule Egypt and Syria for another 250 years, becoming patrons of art, science, and architecture. Cairo grows into one of the wealthiest cities on earth. The knowledge preserved in Islamic libraries during this time later helped spark the European Renaissance. None of this would have been possible if Qutuz had made a different choice on that September morning. If he had stayed in Cairo, if he had listened to advisors urging negotiation, if he had been a typical ruler instead of a warrior, history would tell a very different story. The Battle of Ain Jalut saved more than just Egypt. It preserved the idea that no empire, no matter how vast or powerful, is invincible. It showed that people willing to fight for their homes and beliefs can stand against even the mightiest foes. The Mongols learned this lesson too. In later centuries, when facing enemies who used similar ambush tactics, they approached with caution. The era of effortless conquest was over. Today, the site of Ain Jalut is a quiet valley in the West Bank. There are no grand monuments or signs to mark what happened there. Most visitors have no idea they're standing on ground where the course of history shifted. But on September 3, 1260, in that very spot, a group of former slave warriors proved that even the greatest empire in human history could be brought to its knees. Sometimes, all it takes to change the world is the courage to stand and fight.